Welcome to Corporate Gray's LinkedIn webinar. I'm Karen Durkee, the Director of Social Media at Corporate Gray. And in the next hour, I'm going to show you why and how to use LinkedIn to get noticed, get connected, and get job opportunities. First of all, a little bit about Corporate Gray. We help connect employers with military veterans through our website, where you can create a free account, upload your resume, search jobs, and recruiters use our resume database to find candidates that match their company's needs. We also have a lot of transition advice on our website as well. We also host job fairs, and right now our job fairs are virtual, and this is where you can connect with military-friendly employers and meet one-on-one with their recruiters. And we also publish the Military to Civilian Transition Guide, and this steps you through the transition process with advice and resources. And I'll show you, I'll share with you the link to that at the end. Besides working at Corporate Gray and being the social media director, I'm also a military spouse. My husband retired from the military a few years ago, and I grew up in the military. My dad retired when I was in high school. So I've been through the transition process a few times. I know this is a busy time for those of you who are in transition, and I really appreciate you spending this hour with me. And also thank you for your service. Although this webinar is geared toward transitioning military, I think any job seeker will benefit from this information. Now, you don't need a social media expert to use LinkedIn, so that's why I put this cartoon up. When you create your account, the website will step you through building your profile. So I'm not going to go into those basic steps. What I will show you are ways that you can beef up your profile and use LinkedIn to make your job search more effective. For those of you who are already using LinkedIn, I hope I show you ways that you hadn't thought of for using it in your job search. And I found LinkedIn's Help Center to be useful in finding answers and explaining some of the features of LinkedIn. So if you get stuck, you can always turn to their Help Center. You can also just Google your questions. There's a lot of video tutorials out there on Google and YouTube that show you how to use LinkedIn for your job search. LinkedIn also has a veterans page that has a lot of good information for veterans and spouses who are in job search mode on how to use LinkedIn specifically for you. And also you can go to their veterans page and request the free upgrade that they're offering to veterans. And this free upgrade is what they're offering is 1 year of the premium LinkedIn account, which costs, I believe it's $30 a month. And they're offering it to veterans for 1 year for free. So you have to go to their veterans page and it will step you through the process of requesting that free upgrade. And it really gives you some extra features that are pretty valuable for your job search. So if you're within a year of transitioning and being in job search mode, I definitely recommend you get that free offer. They're also offering it to military spouses as well. I'm not sure if it's for a year for military spouses, but check that out. As we go, I'll point out some of these features, but the account that I'm going to show you is just the free basic account. So everything I show you on my account is what you get with your free account. Before we get further into it, I just want to mention account security. As with any online account, security is important with your LinkedIn account. So just keep in mind these best practices that apply to any online account that you have. It's important to explore and understand all of the settings and privacy that are available to you on your LinkedIn account. So I'm going to show you where you can go to explore all of those and click on all of them and really make sure that everything's set the way you want it to be. Now let's get to it and explore why and how to build an online professional presence on LinkedIn, grow that relevant network that can really help you with your job search, and find job opportunities and do your company research. And one of the biggest reasons to use LinkedIn, it's recruiters are on LinkedIn, they're using LinkedIn to find candidates, and it's working for them. They actually report that they are finding candidates and they are making hires of people that they find on LinkedIn. So what a great reason to have a professional presence on LinkedIn and get found. So let's start with that first one, getting noticed. There's two ways to get noticed on LinkedIn. I'm going to spend the most time on this first way, building that professional online presence, which of course is your LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to talk about and really show you ways to beef up your profile. But it's not just about what's in your profile. It's also about having a presence on LinkedIn, being active on LinkedIn, sharing your expertise, posting comments. So we'll talk about that too. If you've never Googled yourself, you might want to do it, because guaranteed when your resume comes across a recruiter's desk, one of the first things they're going to do is look for you online. And if you have a LinkedIn account, that's going to come up very high in the search results, which is great because that shows that recruiter your online professional presence. So that URL that's going to come up when someone searches you, that's called your public profile URL. And as soon as you created your LinkedIn account, LinkedIn assigned you a unique URL. And my URL when I first created my account was like this. And what LinkedIn does is they'll take your name and they'll put a bunch of random characters after it to make it unique. But you don't have to leave it like that. You can make it a much cleaner URL. And I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to customize your URL. So now my LinkedIn URL looks like this. So this is what I can share, like at the top of my resume here. I've got my LinkedIn URL, and it looks a lot cleaner if I've taken off those random characters. It also makes me look rather savvy on LinkedIn if I've done that. So I'm going to show you how you can customize your URL so that it looks clean and recognizable. Another important part of your profile is your profile photo. A lot of people who are new to social media, if LinkedIn's your first social media site, you might not be comfortable putting your photo up there, but people expect to see a photo on LinkedIn. If you leave it as the head and shoulders silhouette, you're not as likely to have your invitations to connect accepted. You're not as likely to be clicked on when you come up in someone's search. And you just don't make that personal connection that you can make just by putting a friendly, professional looking photo like this person's. It does not have to be professionally taken. If you don't have time to have your photo professionally taken, that's fine. Just get something, a friend take it, but so that you're dressed professionally, you're smiling, looking approachable. And you want the recruiter, for example, who finds you on LinkedIn to be able to picture you working at their company. You can see how just the difference between these two photos and how much more of a connection you can make and feel like you much more know this person when you see their photo on LinkedIn. LinkedIn will also let you add this open to work tag on your photo. So I'll show you where that is as well when we go over to my account. Here's an example. I like this example. First of all, of course, this is fictional. This is Tommy Boy. Someone created this on LinkedIn, but I like to use it as an example because I think it's funny. It's no longer up on LinkedIn, by the way. LinkedIn found out about it and took it down. But Tommy Boy got over 1,000 followers before LinkedIn took it down. But here you can see he's got a nice professional looking photo. He looks friendly. I can picture him working at my company. And he also added a header image. That's optional. It's not as important as your profile photo, but it's good real estate where you can brand yourself. And here he put the car parts plant where he works. And then another important part of your profile is your headline. You can see here Tommy Boy just put his job title for his headline. I don't recommend that. I like this person's headline much better. He's, rather than just putting his job title, he puts exactly what skills he brings to the table. And that's what your headline should have in it. You get 120 characters in your headline. It's very important real estate because not only is it searchable, as any skills, any keywords and phrases you put within your profile, whether it's in your headline or in the work experience section or in your summary, all of those places, whatever you add, that's a searchable tag. You're adding a tag that will help you come up in searches. But the skills that you put in your headline, you know, you're limited to 120 characters. Those should be the most relevant skills that you bring to the table, and be thinking about the crucial attributes for the job that you are targeting. Don't just think about the job you have now. Be thinking about what skills do you have that you know are important for the job that you want to land when you transition out of the military. And those are the skills as well that you need in your headline and in the other places in your profile. You want to make sure that the skills you list are relevant to whatever job you're targeting. And I'll show you how to do that. I also liked this person's header image. Again, this is optional, but it's a good way to brand yourself since this person's in cybersecurity. He made this cybersecurity. Well, he probably didn't make this header image. You can just Google free LinkedIn header images, and there's a lot of them out there that you can just grab for free and pop in and just make it something that's, you know, within your industry or shows your professionalism. Also, your location is important on whatever location you select for your LinkedIn profile. Give that some thought. If you live in a very small town, I would select the biggest city that's near you, just so that LinkedIn uses your location in its algorithm when people are running searches to match you with people. So it's good to have a larger metropolitan area as your location. If you're thinking about, or if you, not if you're thinking about it, if you know that maybe you're going to relocate to, say, your hometown of Dallas, Texas, when you transition out of the military, but right now you're stationed at the Pentagon, you might want to put Dallas, Texas for your location. Even though you're currently at the Pentagon, you know you're going to be going targeting a job in Dallas, then you could put that as your location, just so that you come up and are matched with people in that location. When you're thinking about those skills, especially the ones you're going to put in your headline, make sure you don't use just fluff words that anybody could use that aren't really descriptive about what your key skills are and what experience you bring to the table. Stay away from those buzzwords. So here are some examples of headlines I liked, and you can see they really got into exactly what they bring to the table. This person has many years in logistics program management, supply chain management, procurement. You can see that they're a supply chain engineer. That's probably their current job title. So they've loaded their headline with a lot of skills that show what's important and what they bring to the table. Same with this one. This one even said what position they're seeking. That's great. You know, do the homework for people who are finding you on LinkedIn. Let them know right up front what you're about, what you're seeking, where you're planning on going. If you have a certification or you're just using some military acronyms, you need to be careful. Think about your audience. A recruiter who's recruiting for security or cybersecurity, they're going to know what CISSP means. So it's fine to use that acronym. But if you're using a lot of military acronyms that a civilian recruiter might not understand, you can use the acronym, but you also want to spell it out, make sure that it's clear what that means. So just think about your audience and what they're going to understand when you're putting these keywords in your profile. So how do you figure out what skills and keywords and phrases to put in your profile? Well, first of all, if you've already created your resume, then that's great. You can use that. You've already targeted what skills and accomplishments, what your experience has been. It's all in your resume. But if you don't have your resume yet, or you want to improve on your resume, here's what I suggest you do. Look for job listings of the job that you hope to land. Even if it's not time for you to start applying to those jobs, it's never too early to start researching the jobs and find those job postings, see what the recruiter put in the description, see what they listed for the required skills. Sometimes they'll also give you a list of preferred skills. And that can really help you understand what skills are most relevant to that job that you're targeting. You can even copy and paste the description and the list of skills from those job postings into a word cloud generator. I don't know if you've ever used these, but you could just Google word cloud generator, and there's a lot of free ones out there on the internet. And what it lets you do is copy and paste a bunch of job posting descriptions and list of required skills, paste a bunch of them into a cloud generator, and it's going to spit out an image like this that really shows you that the largest words are going to be the ones that appeared most often in whatever text you pasted in. So this kind of helps you hone in on what was the keywords in those job postings that occurred most often and they all have in common. And it lets you really know that if you have those skills that you are finding from your research to be most important to the recruiters who are posting those jobs, then you know that those are skills you need to be putting in your resume and your LinkedIn profile. If you see some skills listed in those job postings that you don't have yet, or maybe there's certifications that you don't have, that's good information as well, because that lets you know, hey, maybe I better work on that skill, or maybe I better start getting that certification. Another great way is to find people on LinkedIn who are working in the job and at the company where you want to work and the job that you hope to land, and look at their profile on LinkedIn. It's fine to go and find people on LinkedIn and look at their profiles. It's not stalking, it's tactful online investigation. So look at people's profiles, go to school on them, see what they put in their headline. What do they have for their work experience? What education do they have? What certifications do they have? And all of these are good to help inform you of what you should be putting in your LinkedIn profile and what's important to the job that you're targeting. Let me go over to my LinkedIn account now and let's talk a little bit more about the profile. Before we do that, so I'm on LinkedIn.com here. If you've never created an account, you're just going to go to LinkedIn.com. It's going to step you through creating your account. There's quite a few steps. And like I said earlier, I'm not going to go through those basic steps because many of you probably are already on LinkedIn. But if anybody needs assistance, you have my email in the chat box and also on the handout. So I'm happy to help you after the webinar if you have any questions as well. So when I first go to my LinkedIn account and I log in, it lands me on my home page. And I want to show you a few things under the Me icon. So you see your thumbnail photo and you click on the Me. And this is where your settings and privacy. I could spend a whole webinar on just your settings and privacy options. So I'm not going to do that because we don't have time in the hour we have today. But click on your settings and privacy, click on every single tab, every single option, and make sure everything's set. There's going to be things in there you didn't know existed. Like, for instance, did you know you can download a copy of your data? You can get a copy, for instance, you can download a list of all of your first degree connections on LinkedIn from your settings and privacy. You can export all of those connections. It'll give you a CSV file that you can open in Excel and see all the people you're connected to. And if they've set their privacy settings where LinkedIn can share their email address, you'll also have their email in that list. So anyway, it's too much to go into the settings and privacy, but please explore this on your own. And also here is where the LinkedIn Help Center, you can get to that from here. Let's go over to the profile and talk just a little bit more about what you should be putting in your profile. So again, this is under the Me icon, and I'm going to click on View Profile to go to my own profile. And when you're on your own profile, then you can see what that URL is. You see up here at the top, my URL is, it ends with Karen Durkee, but that's not what it was when I first created my account. If you haven't customized your URL, you're going to see a bunch of random characters after it. So what you want to do is on your profile page, go to this Edit Public Profile and URL. And here it's going to let you edit your custom URL. So you just click the pencil icon next to the URL and it will let you get rid of all those random characters and change this last part. You can only change the ending to just make it your name. And if your name is taken, it will let you know because it has to be unique. So if someone already had Karen Durkee, LinkedIn would tell me here as I'm trying to edit it, and I would have had to get a little more creative, but I would have still kept it my name recognizable and professional looking. So maybe I'd do Karen Lockhart Durkee or Karen Durkee PMP or something like that. So it's still my name, it's still recognizable, but if your name is taken, you got to get a little creative. And then once I save that, then I go back to my profile and I'll see it up here. That's my new URL, and I'll copy that and I'll put it in my resume. And then once you've done that and you've started sharing, you can put it in your resume. You could also put it in your email signature. You could put it on if you're using transition business cards to hand out at networking events, you could have your LinkedIn URL on that. It just makes it easier for people to find you on LinkedIn if they have the URL. But once you've customized it and started sharing it, don't customize it again. This is the only thing on LinkedIn where I say just set it and forget it. Because if you change it again later, then the prior link is broken, and if you had shared it with anybody, it's not going to work for them. So set it, forget it, share it with people, and that can be your URL moving forward. The header image, I just created this using a free software online called canva.com. I really like that software. It's just kind of free graphic design software. It's canva.com. I use them a lot, and that's how I created this. So if you're into that, great. If not, just look for a free header image online, but something of obviously professional looking. Couple more things. This open to, remember I showed you how you can add that green tag around your profile photo here. And the way you can add that is click the open to here and click finding a new job. And it'll let you set some parameters there. And down here where it says choose who sees your open, click on that. And if you select this top box, then it will add that green tag and you can see it there. If I check that box and then save it, it's going to add that green tag. I'm not going to do it because I don't want my boss to freak out thinking I'm looking for a job. But that's how you can add that tag if you want. Also, while you're up here at the top of your profile, and anytime you want to change any part of your profile, you just click on one of these pencil icons for whatever section of your profile you're in, and that lets you edit it. You can also add more sections to your profile. There's a lot of good stuff under here. Let me show you. See, you can add just basic sections and skills. You can add up to, I believe it's 50 skills. I'll show you my skills section. Skills are they just work as tags to help make you more searchable. But just add the most relevant skills that you bring to the table. This is where you can get recommendations. We'll talk about that in a minute, but this additional sections, you might not have known that you can add these extra sections to your profile beyond just your work experience and your education. Maybe you've done some community service work, so you could add a section for your volunteer experience. Maybe you've published something. There's all sorts. Maybe you speak several languages. You can actually add a languages section. So make sure you explore all these additional sections that you can add to your profile to make it more robust. And then this recommended section. Recommendations on LinkedIn, they carry a lot more weight. If you have some recommendations from people you're connected to on LinkedIn in your profile, carries a lot more weight than just having endorsements of your skills. And the way you get recommendations is to click here and add recommendations. Right here it says add recommendations, and then it's going to ask you who in your, it's got to be someone in your first degree network. Do you want to request a recommendation from? You just find them here, click continue. It's going to have you, it's going to bring a pop-up box that lets you customize your request for the recommendation. And what that's going to do is send them an email with whatever you've typed. I like to customize it and let the person know what I was thinking when I thought of them for a recommendation. So I customize the request something like, hey, I was wondering if you'd write a short recommendation for my LinkedIn profile and mention that big project we worked on. So that you give the person an idea of what you were hoping they'd talk about in your recommendation. And all a LinkedIn recommendation is a couple of sentences that that person writes about you, and it goes on your profile once you approve it. So you're not asking for a big formal letter of recommendation when you request a recommendation. Let me go down to my recommendations section and show you what I mean by that. So here you've got skills section. That's just where I've listed my skills, and you want to pin your top skills, pin the top 3 to the top. You can do that from the pencil icon, because you can see I've got 24 skills listed, but someone scrolling through my profile is only going to see the top 3. So I want to make sure I pin the most relevant top 3 at the top. And then these endorsements do not mean that much. They don't mean as much as getting recommendations. The endorsements I have for my skills are just someone who's in my network clicks endorse next to one of my skills. They don't, I've got a lot of endorsements from people who've never even worked with me. So endorsements don't carry as much weight as actually getting a recommendation, getting people to write a few sentences about you, and it can go on your LinkedIn profile. So these are what the recommendations look like. And once that recommendation is sent back by the person, LinkedIn will let you know in your messaging center up here that you have a recommendation that's done and ready for approval. It won't go on your profile until you've approved it from your messaging center. Let's go back up. I want to show you a couple more things. First of all, this more icon, this is where I like to back up my profile. Every now and then I back up my profile to a PDF, or especially if I'm going to be making a lot of changes to my profile, I like to back it up first. And that way I have a PDF of it in case I decide, oh, I like my summary section better the way I had it before. Well, then I've saved that. And this is how you can back it up. Click the more icon and click save to PDF. And it will actually save a really nicely formatted copy of your LinkedIn profile, everything that's in your profile. And that's actually a document you can share with people, but I mainly use it just to back up my profile, so I have a copy of it. Another important part of your profile is your About section. This is really where you can tell your story. I recommend you say it in first person and just include your most relevant skills right up front. Because when someone's looking at your profile and they see your About section, they're only going to see the first few lines like this, and they have to click see more to read the rest. I recommend it be longer than just a few lines and load it with those skills that you bring to the table. Don't write a big novel, keep it concise, but loaded with those keywords and phrases that are really going to show your expertise and what you've accomplished. But at the beginning of your about section, that's where you should have the most bang for your buck, because people might not click see more and see the rest. But keep in mind that even though they can't see the rest without purposefully clicking see more to read all of it, LinkedIn still uses everything I typed into my about section as being searchable. So it's still, those are still valuable. It's still valuable wording that I've put in my about section, even if nobody ends up seeing it. You can also feature things that you've posted on LinkedIn. You can have that featured section. And notice here under my work experience, I've attached some documents and some links. This is my resume. I've attached my resume to my work experience. I've attached a link to an article I wrote. And this is a link to a book I wrote on social media. So these are ways you can attach media, they call it, right to your LinkedIn profile, and you start making your profile look like a portfolio. Another thing you might want to attach, maybe you've done a big presentation for your industry. As long as you have permission to share it, save that presentation as a PDF and post it here and share your expertise that way. The way I did put these on my work experience is click that section, whatever section you want to add documents to, and edit that section. And if you scroll down to the bottom, there's going to be this media where it lets you add a link or an actual document. So here you can see I actually added the PDF of my resume. You might have more than one version of your resume. In fact, you should, because you should be tailoring your resume for different jobs that you're targeting. And you only have one LinkedIn account. Your one LinkedIn account encompasses all of you. But if you have more than one version of your resume, you could attach them all here. If I were going to do that, I would name them very descriptively, so that someone looking at my media that I've attached to my profile knows which document they're interested in looking at. So I'd name one Karen Durkee Program Management Resume, and the other one could be Karen Durkee Social Media Resume, that kind of thing. So make sure whatever you attach, you make it very descriptive. And don't attach your resume here thinking that that takes the place of you typing in your work experience description, because it doesn't. What I've typed in here to my actual work experience on my profile, that is searchable by LinkedIn. Anything that I attach here, like my resume, that is not searchable. This is just an image. It's just attached an image of that document, or just this link to the article I wrote. It's not searchable. So don't think that uploading, just attaching your resume to your profile takes the place of actually typing in your skills and accomplishments into your profile. Okay, let's go back to the profile. And I think that's everything I wanted to show. I mean, there's more, but I want to get through a lot of information in this hour. So I could spend a whole day showing you LinkedIn, but hopefully this is giving you some ideas of how you can really beef up your LinkedIn profile. Oh, the one other way, remember I said you can use your resume if you've already got it. That's a great way to figure out what to put in your profile, or look for job listings. That doesn't have to be job listings on LinkedIn, but you could search jobs on LinkedIn, which we'll talk about in a minute, just by clicking this jobs, and really look for those job listings and see what the recruiter posted as the most important skills for that job, and put those in your resume. But the third way I said to figure out what skills should be in your profile is to do a people search, find people on LinkedIn who work at the company you're interested in and who work in the job that you're interested in, and also fellow veterans on LinkedIn who work at the company you're interested in. Go to school on them because they have a similar background to yours, obviously, since they were in the military. And you can learn a lot from them, but you can also bring them into your network, and they are such a great support system for your job search and for your transition because they've been through the transition. So I'm going to show you how to do my favorite people search. So first of all, let's say I want to work at, let's say Raytheon. So I just put Raytheon in the search box on LinkedIn. And first of all, while I'm here, I see that Raytheon Technologies has a company page, so I'm going to follow it. I click the follow button. I'm already following them, but I click the follow button just to, so that I stay in the loop on what they're talking about on LinkedIn. But for these purposes, I want to change this to a people search. So I'm going to select people. I could change it to searching jobs, groups, companies, but I'm going to search people right now. And I got 160,000 results. This is 160,000 people on LinkedIn have Raytheon somewhere in their profile. So that's not all that helpful. So I'm going to click on all filters, and I want to show you some of my favorite filters. First of all, since Raytheon's such a large company, I'm going to narrow down my search to people in my location. If it was a smaller company, I wouldn't need to narrow it down that much. Same with, for current company, I'm going to want to select Raytheon. Or in this case, Raytheon being so big, I'm going to actually select like the industry part of Raytheon that I'm interested in. If it was a smaller company, I would just select the company. It probably wouldn't have all these different choices for different Raytheons. So that ensures that now when I run this search, I'm only going to get people who currently work at Raytheon. And then this is my favorite filter, past company, because now you can find fellow veterans who work at Raytheon. Past company, I'm going to look, United States Air Force is one of my options. That must be there because a lot of people who have Raytheon in their profile have this as a past company. So it gives me that as an option. And there's US Army. But what if I want to connect with fellow Navy veterans? That's not one of these options here. So just click add a company and start putting in US Navy or United States Navy. Make sure you spell it right. And just start typing it in and you're going to see it. In this case, it's US Navy is the official company Navy page. So I'm going to click there, and now it's going to search on my location, people who currently work in Raytheon Intelligence and Space, and people who have in their profile that they used to work at the US Navy or Air Force. So probably they're a fellow veteran. Maybe they were a civilian in the Navy or the Air Force, that could be, but most likely they're going to be a fellow veteran. So now when I click this show results and I add these filters to my search, now I've got 47 results. Another thing I could have searched on under this all filters was job title. So I could have put job title as something I search on and find people at Raytheon that work in the job that I'm interested in to really go to school on them. And here, I'm not just looking for recruiters who work at Raytheon. I'm looking for employees at Raytheon that make sense for me to connect to and learn from. So I could click on their name to view their profile and see what they've got in their profile, go to school on that. Or I could click the connect button. If they're in my second degree network, I could click the connect button and it's going to let me add a note. And I definitely recommend you add a note. Don't just send it, the invitation with the default invite. Add a note and say, just let them know. You're not asking them for a job, no pressure here, but add a note saying, hey, I'm transitioning out of the Army in 3 months, really interested in positions at Raytheon, would like you to join my network and learn more about your company. No pressure. You're just letting them know in your message, in your invitation, why you think they're relevant to you. And your invitation is much more likely to be accepted if you've added just a very brief message in there to let them know why you've invited them to join your network, why you're relevant to them. If this person was in my first degree network, I'd have a message button here. And this is one of the reasons you want to bring people into your network that work at the company you're interested in, because then when they accept your invitation to connect, they're changed to be your first degree network. And now you can message them here instead of connect. And you can send them a message through LinkedIn and reach out to them and ask them information about their company. How do they like it there? What's the culture like? Do they have any advice for you for your transition and for your job search with Raytheon? So reach out to these people. You don't know them, but you know a lot about them. You know they're a fellow veteran. You know they work at Raytheon, and they're probably very willing to answer your questions about their company and about your transition. Let me go back to my slides and tell you a little bit more about, I mentioned that not only is it what's in your profile, but it's also your activity on LinkedIn. You can start, first post about your job search. You could use these hashtags to find trending and to make your posts have a broader reach. Maybe let people know that you're in job search mode. You know, just a simple post on your homepage like, I'm going to the Corporate Gray job fair next month, really looking forward to meeting with Lockheed Martin or something like that. And just by posting that out to your network, it reminds people that you're in job search mode, you're transitioning, and lets them know what companies you're interested in and puts you on their radar that way. Just make sure anything you post, you keep it positive and keep it professional. Also, posting industry articles. It doesn't have to be an article you wrote, just an article that you came across that you thought was interesting about your industry. Share the link and one sentence that lets your network know why you thought it was interesting. And all of a sudden, you start looking like an expert in your industry because you're sharing all of this great industry information. Even though you didn't write it, you can share information, and it helps really make you look like an expert and makes you get found that way. Or if you do write about your industry, you can actually publish your articles right on LinkedIn. Instead of just posting a discussion on your homepage, you can click this Write Article link, and you can actually put the article, copy and paste it right onto LinkedIn, kind of like LinkedIn being your own personal publisher, and people in your network will see your article. Also, simply liking someone else's post or commenting on it or sharing it puts you on their radar, and they appreciate it. I love it when someone likes or shares something that I've posted on LinkedIn, and then I see you. It puts you on my radar. So that's a very simple way to be active on LinkedIn. Okay, the second way I mentioned at the beginning to use LinkedIn to really build that professional network. And why? Because, you know, that's how you get your foot in the door to actually land an interview through your network. So I'm going to show you how you can really build and expand and leverage your network. Well, we've already kind of talked about that already, but I want to tell you a little bit more about it. And it's not just about a big network. It's not just about the numbers. You're not just trying to willy-nilly invite everybody you find on LinkedIn to join your network. No, you want to build a relevant network. That your network is going to grow exponentially. It just does, and I'll show you that. I'll show you how it grows. But your first degrees are what you can control, and you want to keep those connections relevant. And by relevant, I mean the people that you invite to join your network on LinkedIn, you want to have some sort of litmus test where they are relevant to you, whether they're a fellow veteran or they work in your industry or some professional connection that's relevant to you. And that goes the same way with the invitations that you receive from people on LinkedIn. You don't have to accept every invitation you receive. You have a choice when you see your pending invitations of whether you accept or ignore. If you accept it, it brings them into your network. And then at any time you can go to your My Network page and find them in your list of connections and remove them from your network if you need to later. But you also have the option to ignore the invitation. And if you click ignore, it's okay. They don't get a message from LinkedIn saying you ignored their request. You just drop off their radar. The invitation goes away. So it's okay to ignore if you can't tell how that person is relevant to you. Who should you invite to connect with? Start with friends and colleagues, classmates, people you know, and then move on to people in the industry and maybe classmates that you don't know. That's a great, fellow alumni are another great network to reach out to, and you can search people by school. Just like reaching out to fellow veterans is a great support. Industry leaders, you can reach out to them on LinkedIn. And if they don't accept your invitation to connect, you can still follow them. Go over to their profile, and if they have the follow button, you can follow and stay in the loop on what they say, what they're talking about on LinkedIn. And then we already talked about, employees, and of course, recruiters are everywhere on LinkedIn. Some recruiters add one of those tags to their photos, just like job seekers can add a green tag. Some recruiters add that purple tag that you might see, and then hey, that's someone who's looking for candidates. And again, I already mentioned using those filters when you're doing the people search so that you really hone in on people who work at the companies currently that you're interested in, and also fellow veterans. You can find them by searching past companies. And then schools is one for fellow alumni. There's lots of filters, so you just need to explore them. Here's how your network grows exponentially. If you didn't believe me, this is what LinkedIn says. If your first degree is 170 people, then that means you've got about this many in your second degree. So told you, exponential growth. Second degree is, okay, so someone is in my first degree. These people are in my first degree because either I invited them to join my network and they accepted, or vice versa. And then the people that are in my first degree, their first degree network is my second degree, and then so on. So it's degrees of separation. And LinkedIn says if you have 170 in your first degree, then in your third degree, you have about 2 million. So you can see what I'm talking about. And I can't control who's in my second degree and in my third degree, but I can control who's in my first degree. And that's why I say you want to keep it relevant. And this is where you'll see your invitations to connect. You click on My Network, and you can see whatever pending invitations you might have. If you don't want to accept an invitation, click ignore. Get it out of your pending invitations list. Don't be afraid to click ignore. If you just leave it in there pending, then you stay on that person's radar as someone who hasn't made the decision yet of whether they've been accepted. So click ignore, it gets it out of there, and it goes away. Or click accept. If you leave your invitations pending and you don't make a decision on them, that signals to LinkedIn too that you're not very active on the site, and you want to be active. The more active you are, the higher you'll come up in search results. Also, you're going to see this more suggestions for you. I've found, and this is again also on your My Network page, I really like the suggestions LinkedIn. Maybe it's because my profile's really beefed up I've got a good complete profile. And so LinkedIn's algorithm for suggesting people I might be interested in connecting with, it seems to be really good for me. Same with when LinkedIn suggests companies I might be interested in or jobs I might be interested in. They always seem to be pretty accurate and things that I really would be interested in. But don't click connect here. If I click the connect here from the suggested list, it just sends the automatic default invitation. It doesn't let you add that note. So I would click on their name, and then from their profile, I would click the connect button, and there it's going to let you add that note to your invitation. Groups are another great way to expand your network, because fellow group members, when you have a group in common on LinkedIn with someone else, it's as if they're in your network. It brings them into your network. So if you join some relevant groups, it brings you together with like-minded people. Maybe join groups in your industry. There's a lot of transitioning military groups. And people that join those groups are not only transitioning military and veterans, but also people like me who are in the group to help answer your questions. And also recruiters join those groups because they know they're going to find military experienced candidates in those groups. But they have groups for everything on LinkedIn. And then also that third reason to use LinkedIn to get opportunities. How? Well, first of all, those job listings, search the job listings, and also look at jobs that LinkedIn recommends for you, because there's jobs out there you didn't even know were out there. There's companies out there you didn't even know were out there. So do some of that research. Let LinkedIn help you get matched. Let their algorithm of suggestions help you. And it will show you opportunities that you would not have otherwise known about. Companies spend a lot of money posting jobs to LinkedIn, so take advantage of that. And then also connecting with employees. I've said that before, I'll say it again. Reach out to people who work at the company that you're hoping to work for. Bring them into your network, and you're not asking them for a job. They're probably not even in a hiring capacity, but it puts you on their radar, and you can get a lot of information from those people to help with your job search. The jobs icon on your LinkedIn account has lots of information to help you with your job search. So explore all of this that's there. This interview prep, I love this. It gives you some videos of how they recommend, best ways to answer certain most commonly asked interview questions. So just lots of good stuff. And then you can search for jobs. You can also see jobs that LinkedIn recommends for you based on your activity on LinkedIn and also what you've put in your profile. And then when you do a job search, remember you've got this all filters. So you don't have to just stick with what you put in the search box. Once you run a search, change it to jobs, and then add some more filters. And when you run a job search and you've applied some filters and you got a good list of jobs returned, then you can save those filters for later. So you don't have to go in and put all those filters in again. It will save that search for you. You can also apply to the jobs right through LinkedIn, or save that job to view later and apply later. And it'll also show you who you're connected to at that company. And you already know, because I've already said it a couple of times, how important it is to reach out to people who are working at the company to get information. One of those premium account benefits that you get if you have the upgraded account is that when you apply to a job through LinkedIn, LinkedIn will show you how you stack up. How does your profile stack up against other people that are interested in that job and that have applied to that job? So that can be really good information for you. Also, research the companies before you reach out to recruiters, before you come to a job fair. Research the company. One way is to follow their LinkedIn page. There's a lot of other ways, but we're just talking about LinkedIn right now. So follow the company so that you see what the company's talking about in your updates on your homepage. And just learn as much as you can about the company. And you can do that by reaching out to those people that work at that company. I want to show you, this is a screenshot of what one of our job fair pages looks like on Corporate Gray, but I actually want to show you our upcoming job on Corporate Gray because we have a LinkedIn button there. So I'm on corporategray.com. When you go there, you're going to see our upcoming May 20th virtual military friendly job fair. And if you click on the job fair page and scroll down, it's going to show you the attending employers. And the reason I go here is because we give you information about the company. This is a great way to learn more about the company. But we also post their jobs. Their jobs are posted. Most of them are posted on Corporate Gray because we recommend you do your research ahead of coming to the event. So we've made it easy for you. You can search their jobs right here from this link. But also we have, for every company, we've added a LinkedIn button. This button, when you click it, it does not take you to that company's LinkedIn page. No, it runs a people search. So for example, let me click on the LinkedIn network button for Los Alamos National Laboratory. It's going to open up my LinkedIn account and it ran a people search. See, it already switched to people and it's searching on current company that these people have Los Alamos National Laboratory as their current company. So it's run a people search for me on people working at that company. And the reason we put that on our job fairs page is because we encourage you to reach out to these people ahead of the event. They might not be a recruiter. They might not be someone who's going to be attending the event, but that's not why you're reaching out. You're reaching out to connect with people to get more information about that company before you come to the job fair and talk to the recruiters that are going to be at the event, so that you come to the job fair with as much ammunition as possible to let those recruiters know exactly what their job openings are and why you are a great match to fill their company's needs. Some of my top tips for using LinkedIn, I think I covered all of these, but that last one, can't stress enough, researching the company before you go to a job fair, before you reach out to the recruiter. Already have the information about how you're a match for their company, and then let them know. I hope you'll also create a Corporate Gray Online account. You can have a free account. All our services to job seekers are free. Military spouses and civilians can also have a free account on Corporate Gray. Create your free account, upload your resume because recruiters are searching our resume database for candidates. Register for a job fair, and that gets you on the radar of even more recruiters. All of the attending employers, all the recruiters that are participating in our next event will have access to your resume if you've registered for that event. And lots of transition advice and job search advice as well on this transition guide page. And on this transition guide page, there's also a link to our military to civilian transition guide. So you can actually view the ebook version of our guide right from this transition guide page. I know that was a lot of information. You have the handout that kind of bullets a lot of the things that I covered today. And if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to put it in the chat box or unmute yourself. And I thank you also, before I answer your questions, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy when you're in job search mode and when you're transitioning. So thank you so much for your time. There's a question that can spouses join Corporate Gray? Absolutely. Spouses can have a free account on Corporate Gray. In fact, when you, and civilians as well. So when you're on Corporate Gray and you go to log in, you go to Corporate Gray's homepage, you'll see this create a free account here. And when you click on it, you'll see that it asks you your branch of service. So if I were a military spouse, I'd go ahead and put the branch of service, like Air Force. If I were a civilian, I'd just say you can just put other. And then for type of applicant, this is where you put the rank that you held last, like the rank you are when you transitioned out. But if you are a military spouse, there's an option at the bottom for military spouse, and there's also an option for civilian. And then the rest of them, if it's got a red asterisk, you have to make sure that that's a required field. You have to answer it. But you can create an account as a military spouse or a civilian as well. A lot of civilians have similar skills to military because maybe you're civilian in the defense industry or in the federal industry. So we definitely recommend you create a Corporate Gray online account. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm going to stay on a few more minutes in case anyone wants to unmute and ask a question. And again, thank you so much for your time today.